Welcome to the Poisoner's Almanac podcast. This is Adam. I just want to say, if you guys don't mind, go to your favorite podcasting platform where you listen to this podcast and leave us a 5-star review, because that will push the podcast further into the algorithm as my wife feverishly turns pages in her research notebook. But that helps get the podcast out to more listeners who enjoy it like you guys. I mean, that's always good, right? Right. Yeah. Okay. Let's get into the episode. Welcome to the Poisoner's Almanac podcast. I'm your co-host, Adam.
I'm Rebecca.
And today's episode... Well, before we get to that, how are you, my dear?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Pretty good. We're coming to the end of this school year.
Oh, man.
No more of that morning routine that I hate so much.
That you hate so much.
It's so difficult because she hates getting up in the morning.
Oh, man.
So it's basically getting all her stuff ready, dragging her from her bed to school under much protest.
Guys, our daughter is at the end of her rope with this class that she's in at school, this second grade class. She was doing a worksheet where in 3 words you describe her class. She wrote 27, and it was all bad.
Yeah.
She said, "We're terrible at following directions." It was this rant.
We never listen.
It was like a Yelp review that you do not want to get.
Well, she has told me that she doesn't like her class because there's a lot of kids in her class that don't listen, and it makes them not able to do fun things.
There you go. So she despairs at times, having to be in this class that is driving her teacher to drink alcohol.
Now, granted, she was born in October, so she is 8, about to turn 9 this year,
right.
And everybody else in her class is like at least maybe a year younger.
Oh, that's a good point.
So
yeah.
Maybe they just need some catching up, you know.
My mom, who is a former teacher herself, when I described this situation to her, she said, they like to put all the wild kids in one class. I was like, Mom, are you joking?
Yeah, I've heard that too because I used to
yes.
be in...
Becca is also a certified teacher.
Yeah, they do that.
So Camilla is, God bless her.
Does that make Camilla wild?
That can't be it. She's one of the...
Well, she also is somewhat getting screened for ADHD at the moment.
That's true.
So,
that's happening.
Yeah, but she does enjoy following the rules and listening because she doesn't want to be seen as a bad kid. So.
She loves her some rules.
But she does love to talk too, so who knows?
That's right.
Okay.
So what is today's episode about?
We are talking about some poisonous critters. Remember I said we were going to be talking about animals a little bit here and there, and I say animals because there's quite a few...
Just whistled right at the end with that S.
Are you proud of yourself?
I didn't think I could execute that, but I did.
Are you proud of yourself?
Yes, I am.
There you go. But we're going to talk about like a bunch of various different critters in this that I just found super interesting. Now we're talking about poisonous creatures this episode. And we'll talk about venomous ones next episode.
I see. I see what you did there.
There's too many to put into one episode when it comes to poisonous versus venomous, but I thought it would be a good way of also telling the difference between poisonous and venomous, because there are people who don't know the difference. So yeah, poisonous. If a toxin is poisonous, it basically enters the body via ingestion or inhalation or absorption through the skin. So you basically are taking it in.
Okay. You're
like eating it, inhaling it, absorbing it, that kind of thing. That's a poison.
Okay.
So if I eat a poisonous plant, I've been poisoned. Right?
Cusco's poison.
I'm poisoned for Cusco. That one. Venom is
you
something...
kidding? That's handcrafted mahogany.
I love Kronk. Why do we even have that lever? If something is venomous, that means the toxin enters the body via injection, such as being bit by a snake or a spider. So something
that's what the term means.
Yeah, it's
look
venomous.
At you.
It injects it.
It's just so you guys, just in case you can't tell, I am always reacting in real time to Becca's research. She's literally teaching me everything she researches.
Well, I'm also one of those like people who gets annoyed when somebody says, "Yeah, that snake is poisonous." I'm like, There's
you
only
peasant.
There's one snake that is both.
And the person's just writhing on the ground, poisoned to death.
There's one snake that I have heard of that is both poisonous and venomous, and that's the keelback snake. Keelback. He's both poisonous and venomous.
You don't say.
But
okay.
Usually when you're talking about a snake, you mean he's a venomous snake.
Becca will just stop administering CPR to the poisoned person and be like, listen, I'm going to save this guy's life, but let's get one thing straight. It's venom.
I mean, what am I going to do against that? He's going to need to go to the hospital.
You know what I'm saying? I'm writing the screenplay in real time. I do apologize.
Don't suck venom out of somebody. Don't do that. It's not going to work. It's not. You need to get that person to the hospital immediately.
That's not real.
Yeah.
That is not real.
Don't do that. Anyway, moving on.
Yes.
There's also another word you should know before we get into this.
Oh, please.
And I hope I don't butcher this word. It's like in my brain, I hear it perfectly.
Okay.
But when it comes out of my mouth, I don't know if that's part
Melancholy.
of I don't know if it's part of the neurodivergence world or what. But I will say something in my head. I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's perfect.
It. Nailed it.
Then it comes
Great
out
job,
of my mouth. It comes out of my mouth, and it's like, what was that?
Okay.
What was that? We sound so stupid. Anyway, moving on. Yes.
I'm so excited. What's the word?
Aposematism.
No.
It's the advertising of...
No.
Shut up.
I'm just kidding. I don't know.
You don't know.
Mm-mm.
It's the advertising of or by an animal to potential predators that it is not worth attacking or eating. So it's like a warning. Like basically the coloring will give that warning. Like,
oh, okay.
one we're going to talk about in a minute is like poison dart frogs. They have this brilliant color about them. They're very colorful, and it basically warns predators, don't eat me.
Why in my head did I just see those little frogs with little bows and quivers, like just pulling poisoned arrows from their quiver and shooting them? I'm a poisoned dart frog. I don't know why I saw that.
I think we're more alike than you know.
No, we're not.
Okay. So the first one we're gonna talk about is the golden poison frog, which is a type of it's a type of dart frog. It is actually one of the more poisonous. Actually, it is the most poisonous. So, and the scientific name for it is Phyllobates terribilis. Don't come after me if I butcher that. I am tired.
But if you do, I want to meet you in person because you obviously are somebody I need to know.
No, because sometimes I look up pronunciations for this, right? Pronunciations.
Okay. Yeah.
But
thanks, Google.
I'll hear like 3 or 4 different ones,
Ooh,
and I'm like, well, which one's right? So
you start looking up the credentials of the people that pronounce the word.
I'm just gonna go take a class on herpetology. They have one at ASU.
Study of herpes. What is that?
The study of reptiles.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Sorry.
Wow. Okay. Its name, though, Phyllobates terribilis, means terrifying leaf walker. So that's fun.
Well, I prefer that.
Yeah, like if you're a frog, that'd be cool to be called that. Terrifying leaf walker.
Leaf walker.
So it is native to the rainforests of Colombia, though it is endangered due to habitat destruction. It is the largest species of the poison dart frog family, also known as, Dendrobatidae. No,
you said that right. I have no idea.
You don't know.
I have no idea.
You don't know. But it is still small at about... I'm more into plants than I am into animals. I just found this fascinating because poison, okay? But
poison.
It is still small at about 6 centimeters in length when they're adults. The colors, I know it says golden, but the colors could actually include a yellow golden color, a mint or metallic green, an orange, and there's also an orange black-footed frog, but that's more of a captive bred frog. Like they've sort of interbred them, I think, to prevent them from going extinct or being hunted. It's a whole thing.
Like a preservation technique.
It's a whole thing, yeah.
Okay.
Now, they produce something called Tetrodotoxins, and these are a pretty potent cardiotoxin and neurotoxin.
Mm-hmm.
And they produce them in their skin glands, and they are a deadly alkaloid.
Well.
Now, it's only one of the 28 alkaloid toxins that can be present on dart frogs in general.
Mm-hmm.
But we're talking about Tetrodotoxins.
Okay.
Now, this toxin binds to sodium channels of nerve cells, and it keeps those nerve cells open, which leaves muscles in this sort of inactive state.
Is it paralytic?
Yeah.
Does it stop you from moving? Yeah. Okay.
This can lead to paralysis,
Blech.
deadly arrhythmias, heart failure, and death. I imagine respiratory paralysis is there too.
Anything that requires muscle.
And, just so you know, you have your diaphragm. You need your muscles to help you breathe. So, so basically the nerves aren't getting signals to the muscles. Okay. Because this toxin takes up space on those sodium ion channels.
Gotcha.
Now, even small doses of this frog's poison can cause seizures, spasms, shortness of breath, and death in mice. The average golden poison frog carries about 1 milligram of poison, which is enough to kill between 10 and 20 humans, or up to 2 African bull elephants.
Good Lord.
Little guys.
A single frog.
Yeah. They're little guys, but they pack a punch.
Mercy.
Now, these bufotoxins are released as a colorless or milky substance on the back of the frog and or behind its ears when it feels threatened or agitated. So if you think it's pretty, I mean, it's not here where we live, but if you ever go to the Colombian rainforest, don't pick up pretty frogs.
I mean, if you're...
That should be like on your list of things.
If you're trafficking cocaine for a drug cartel, you need to know this.
Don't pick up pretty frogs.
No. Yeah, if they look really pretty, that's a sure sign. Don't touch that.
You're going to want to, but don't do it.
Mm-hmm. And you may be high on cocaine, and we understand.
Not everybody there is high on cocaine.
Okay. La cocaína.
But you won't like touching this frog.
No.
Or really getting it, if you touch it and then touch your eyes or your mouth, don't do that. There is no antidote, but treatment may be modeled after that used to treat digitalis poisoning, as we have talked about.
Yes, we have.
Because of the similar cardiotoxic effects.
Isn't digitalis derived from foxglove?
Yes.
Well.
Digitalis is the other name for foxglove.
Those of you who follow the podcast Instagram, you'll notice that my wife spotted foxglove at the local Home Depot. It was not labeled.
Well, it was labeled as foxglove, but
yeah, but it was like foxglove exclamation mark.
Brand new. I'm really hoping that nobody doesn't do research and buys it while they have pets and kids. But
oh dear.
Here we are.
Anyways, follow the podcast Instagram. Shameless plug. Please continue.
Right. So also tetrodotoxin from pufferfish. We're going to talk about that one a little bit later.
Oh. Or
saxitoxin, not saxophone. Saxitoxin.
Not to be confused with.
Present in red tides. Have effects against bufotoxins, the aftermath of sodium influx, basically. So, but we're going to talk about those two in just a minute.
Okay.
Now, there have been some anesthetics that have been seen to block its action on receptors, like as a competitor for those receptors on the sodium channels, but there's no actual antidote that we have currently. And curiously, though, the golden poison frog and other dart frogs, they lose their ability to produce this poison when kept in captivity.
What now?
And why do you think that is?
There's no threat.
No,
they're not agitated?
No.
They're not threatened?
No.
I don't know.
I'll tell you.
Please.
This is because the toxin they produce actually comes from their diet. Namely, bufotoxin containing insects in the Melaridae family.
Nope, that's not it.
I don't know my bugs.
Just kidding, you nailed it.
Now,
there's no way to know.
Melaridae. Poisons similar to these bufotoxins include veratridine, found in some lilies, false hellebore, corn lilies, and feathershank. You'll recognize this one.
Feathershank.
That's fun, isn't it?
Okay.
You'll recognize this one. Aconite.
Ayo.
Found in the Aconitum family.
Let's go.
Monk's hood or wolfsbane, as we know. And granotoxin, also known as rhodotoxins. Where do you think those are found?
Rhodotoxins? Is it R-O-T-O?
It's D.
Rhodo.
It's a plant.
Rhododendrons?
Yep.
Get out of here.
Yep.
I just got that right. Let's go.
Rhodotoxins found in rhododendrons.
Let's go.
Now I want to take a little bit of a rabbit trail here and I literally wrote rabbit trail time on my notebook.
I respect it. Let's go.
Because I started looking into this whole thing with rhodotoxins. And you may have heard this this term before, mad honey. You ever heard of mad honey?
No.
It's.
I mean, if you're married, you have, yes.
Oh my God. It's it's basically honey produced from nectar and pollen of rhododendrons.
So stupid. Okay. That's so dumb.
So yeah.
Okay.
This particular honey from rhododendrons has a long history.
I knew that.
It's mainly produced and consumed in Turkey and Nepal these days, where it is used as a recreational drug. It's a hallucinogenic, and it's also been used in alternative medicine to treat things like sore throat, arthritis. I don't know why you would go to that length to treat a sore throat.
Sorry.
Diabetes.
Your throat sore? You know what you need? You need some, just some classic hallucinations, I tell you.
Diabetes, hypertension, indigestion, abdominal pain, gastritis, ulcers, and flu.
Your face when you said flu.
Sorry.
You were like, it's a great idea.
Oh, God. It's banned in South Korea, in case you wanted to know.
Well, they'd be the first.
Too much of this mad honey will lead to granotoxin toxicity. And it has been rumored to help with sexual performance. And this might be why most poisoning cases are experienced by middle-aged men.
Is that real? Oh, my God.
That's what I read.
Okay.
Okay, now back to golden poisonous frogs. Okay, we're done with the bad honey.
Okay.
Golden poison frogs were and are very useful to indigenous peoples where they live, as they are the main source of poison used on darts and arrows for hunting. So you were kind of right with the frogs and the arrows. It's just not the frogs wielding the arrows. Once the tip of a weapon is coated with the poison, it can stay deadly for 2 years or longer.
Oh my God. 2 years?
What if you're like putting it on there and you accidentally tip yourself on accident? That would suck. I feel like that would be
hysterical.
me. I feel like that would be me.
Oh man. 2 years.
2 years.
Okay.
Okay.
The more you know.
So we're moving on. We're going to talk about cane toads next. Cane toads, well, they're interesting.
Obviously.
Rhinella marina. They are native.
Went to high school with a girl named Rhinella Marina.
Was she warty? This is a toad. Okay.
Was she warty?
Get it? Because toads have.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on. But it has.
Warty.
It has been introduced.
The adjectival form of the noun wart, as one uses.
Are you done?
And I need a minute. We need to drill down for just a second. Is she warty? Amazing.
Okay.
All right. I'm good.
You good? Okay. Like I said, native to South and Central America, but has been introduced to Northern Australia and throughout Oceania and the Caribbean.
I'm sorry. Did you say Oceania?
Isn't that what it is?
What is that?
That's how you say it, right? Oceania?
That's a place?
Yeah.
Listeners out there, can you send us a DM?
I'm gonna look it up.
Let us know.
I looked it up, but it's been a
Oceania.
minute. Yeah, I looked it up, and hang on. But I don't
It
want
sounds
to
like
get
it sounds
wrong.
like the lost city in some Disney
Oceania.
animated film.
Oceania. Is a geographical region including Australasia, Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting grouping of countries.
Well, there you go. Oceania.
Now we know.
Now you know. But yes.
Is she warty?
So the reason it was introduced to a lot of those countries, though, was for control of agricultural pests, like those who fed on sugarcane, like when that was, a big thing. Mm-hmm. But its presence in non-native environments has actually threatened species that are native to those environments. Who knew that could happen? They've also been a problem in Florida, which, it tracks. And Hawaii.
Well, Florida does have its share of problems.
It's also been introduced to Hawaii, and it's been a problem there too. So.
Okay.
Now, the skin of the cane toad has these glands. Fun fact, like one of the differences between like toads and frogs is like toads have these like glands, like behind the eyes.
Okay.
Ish. Yeah, I'm trying to think of how they look, but yeah. Because it's big like a bullfrog, but it's not a frog. It's a cane toad.
Okay.
So yeah. Yeah, but the skin, these glands secrete a milky white fluid called bufotoxin.
Bufo.
And it contains bufadienolides.
Oh yeah, you said it right.
Yeah, okay. Those things, which are cardiac glycosides that can cause.
Hey, those are back.
Which can cause atrioventricular block, basically a bunch of heart stuff. Okay.
That's nuts. Dude.
Bradycardia, VTAC, and cardiac arrest.
Okay.
There have been animal and human deaths reported. Also, these are a bad thing for dogs because dogs can just lick things.
Of course.
Not a good thing. Want to keep dogs away from these. It also contains tryptamine derivatives such as bufotenin, which causes hallucinogenic symptoms.
Which is fine if you have a sore throat.
I don't think this one helps that, though. Symptoms of intoxication can include, there's a lot of these, so bear with me. Tingling or burning sensation in the eyes, mucous membranes, and there's paleness, bradycardia, cardiac arrhythmias, namely ventricular or atrial fibrillation, bundle branch blocks, another heart thing, hypotension, dyspnea, which is basically shortness of breath, tachypnea, which
the P is silent, and dyspnea.
I like to say dyspnea.
Do you say the P?
I like to because it helps me to remember how to spell it.
What a maniac.
It helps me to remember how to spell it.
Okay.
Like Wednesday. Like, I know it doesn't sound like that, but sometimes when I'm going to write it, I say.
What is Wednesday from?
Father of the Bride.
Yes.
A week from Wednesday.
A week from Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay, George.
Wow, we are really out
Move
of it.
aside, because I'm going to level the place.
Okay.
Hush, hold on.
Okay, back to symptoms. Dyspnea is shortness of breath. Tachypnea is basically breathing really fast. Hallucinations, blurred vision, paralysis, increased salivation, diarrhea, vomiting, anaphylactic shock, loss of consciousness, respiratory arrest, and cardiac arrest. So not fun. None of that's fun.
Those are all common words in the ER.
Yeah. There was one child that was noted to have seizures after putting a toad from this family in their mouth.
Whoops.
Children like to put things in their mouth. They did recover after treatment with diazepam and phenobarbital. I'm sure they caught it quick and were able to handle that.
Wow.
In serious cases, death typically occurs within 6 to 24 hours. So.
It's awful.
There's that. So
quit licking frogs, y'all.
Okay, we're gonna get into something that we'll get there.
Okay.
Bufotenin, which is a bufotoxin.
Well, I knew that.
Yes. Is also in the Colorado river toad, which we're going to talk about.
Colorado river toad.
Yeah, it's also found in seeds and latex of some trees, but we're not talking about trees today. We're talking about critters.
Stay focused.
Right. Okay. The Colorado river toad, also known as Encilius alvarius, or used to be known as Bufo alvarius, but some people still call it that. We're going to talk about him alongside because he also has bufotenin, but he also has something else going on with him. Now, in the U.S., bufotenin is classified as a Schedule I drug by the DEA and is illegal to buy, possess, and sell. Just to let you know how.
Okay.
How this works. In the UK, bufotenin is a Class A drug. So if you're from the UK, you know what that means. In Australia, it is a Schedule I controlled substance according to the Criminal Code regulations and a Schedule IX drug according to the 1964 Poisons Act.
Okay.
So that's cruel. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because toad secretions containing bufotenin became kind of a street drug in the mid-90s.
You're joking.
I am not joking.
It was the 90s.
Yeah. It was basically being ingested orally or being smoked because it is a psychedelic. But it can lead to poisoning as well as death. They used to call it toad licking, but they weren't exactly licking the toads. They were just doing stuff with its secretions.
Okay.
Anyway.
Gross.
Yeah, lovely. We're going to get into more of that in a minute because there's some more that you need to know. So there is another psychedelic that comes along with the Colorado river toad, also known as a Sonoran desert toad, if you know it by that name. It's called 5-MeO-DMT, and they secrete this along with bufotenin. A single inhalation of the poison in its vaporized form can cause strong visual and auditory hallucinations within 15 seconds.
Yo.
So,
okay.
Now, a man named Ken Nelson decided to try this in 1983 just to see what would happen. And that's how we know that this 5-MeO-DMT is a strong psychedelic.
He's just some guy?
He just went out there and smoked it. He just went out to the desert and he smoked some toad secretions.
Talk about a guy with nothing to lose.
Because he was just like, why not? I'm just going to try and see what happens. YOLO. Do people still say YOLO? Right. I don't know.
He sounds like the guy whose picture's on the wall in The Good Place. Do you remember that guy?
Yeah. Yes. Good show.
I don't know. I just think the afterlife is moderated by Ted Danson. I don't know.
I mean, it works. But so okay. After this happened, this was in 1983 that he did that. After this came the I'm going to try. You're going to laugh when I say this. I'm going to try to keep a straight face.
I'm sure you're not going to nail it. Church
of the Toad of Light. I told you were going to laugh.
It sounds like an anime.
It is now
on Netflix.
It is now defunct. So it's
what?
Not, yeah.
Why?
But there is still a Facebook page.
Well, I'm immediately going to go
1.6 thousand followers.
Oh, I thought you were going to say million. You usually say 1.6 million.
Well, after this episode, it might be because people are going to check it out.
That's right.
Church of the Toad of Light. That's what it was called. Okay. The Facebook page was started in 2011, but apparently the church itself is... Anyway, it was founded by John Mann in California in 1971.
That's the guy whose picture is on the wall in The Good Place. Obviously. Him and Ken got to get together.
Keep them in mind. There's also a group called Universal Shamans of the New Tomorrow, founded in 2015 by a woman in Texas. And she has called the smoking of toad secretions as their sacred medicine. Okay. So they both took part in these sort of quote unquote rituals where they would basically like inhale or smoke these toad secretions.
How do you just broach that subject? Like you run into a stranger. What do you do for a living? Oh, I run a group that smokes toad secretions.
Look, it starts.
We have a Facebook page.
Starts with raw milk and it heads downhill from there. Okay.
Man. Oh.
Don't do that. Anyway, we could talk about quite a few things with that what you could consider it poison. I mean, it's bacteria, but yeah. Anyway,
the dose makes the poison. I don't know if you know.
Apparently, people pay hundreds to thousands of dollars for these toad ceremonies. Some have even called it the God molecule.
Okay.
And it's not just regular people. There have been some notable celebrities involved in this.
Of course.
And you can guess one person amongst this crowd. I know you can.
Tom Cruise.
No.
Oh,
he's a Scientologist.
Joe Rogan.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. God.
Joe Rogan is one of the people, and I think his experience, he shared it on, I think you could find it on YouTube, actually. I didn't watch it, but anyway, he actually
I can't think of anything I'd rather not see. I'd rather, I don't know, I'd rather swim in a vat of acid than listen to Joe talk about that.
Also, Chelsea Handler has tried it, Now, she and Joe Rogan both described it as a terrifying experience.
No kidding,
It has also
you
been
guys.
it has also been described as a very, very similar to like a near-death experience. Like it's a very
yeah, they do these things to, and I've heard it so many. When you get famous and rich enough, you also get bored.
Okay, yeah,
I think that's part of why these people do this stuff. Anyways.
Well, you get bored, but you also have the money to do.
You got the money to go to the jungles of South America and do ayahuasca or whatever.
You can actually go and do this in Texas.
Oh, well, of course it's Texas.
Probably California,
it's probably
too.
Austin, Texas, if I had to guess.
I don't know. You're so angry at this.
I am. They're so ridiculous, these people.
Okay, so now 5-MeO DMT. Why would anybody want to smoke it? I'm sure you're thinking, like, why would anybody do that? Besides it being a hallucinogenic.
Sure.
It has apparently been believed to have anti-anxiety and antidepressant effects. But from what I understand, it's a terrifying experience. So I'm not sure how you don't end up with more anxiety. Mm-hmm. It is also still illegal because it's considered to be a Schedule I substance. So they're doing this illegally. It's also been used to help addiction. Apparently, I don't know all the stuff about that, but but you have to remember too that toad secretions also contain cardiac glycosides. Not a good idea.
It's such a bad idea.
Now, researchers have looked into a synthetic version of 5-MeO DMT, but some of these involved with the spiritual side of toad secretions refuse to give up the natural source. They want the toads.
Okay.
Okay. But this could also mean harming the existence of those toads in the future. I guess, eventually they'd have to give it up because there wouldn't be any more. Because in order to get them to secrete this, you have to really agitate them. Like you have to really mess with them. It's not very
like make them feel they're under threat.
Yeah. Like,
yikes.
It's not very nice to the toads, let's be honest.
Okay.
Also, this practice is not some ancient indigenous tradition like the use of peyote or, I can't say this word, ayahuasca?
Ayahuasca. Yes.
It is relatively a new thing to consume toad poisons. So it's not like some cultural, indigenous cultural thing. They're just sort of like, yeah, let's smoke this thing and yeah.
Okay.
Also, I forgot to mention Mike Tyson was also a fan of this stuff. Apparently, he's done it a lot. And
that tracks. He is a little
out there.
Too French fries short of a Happy Meal. Mm-hmm. Also, I need to mention, you mentioned ayahuasca. I am a musician, and I've read a bunch of musicians' biographies. I read Sting's biography, which was really good. The first chapter describes he and his wife going to South America to do ayahuasca.
Well, he's a very isn't he really into Eastern religions?
I think so.
And
yeah,
he's a very spiritual sort of
very spiritual type
being,
of person. But
yeah.
it was just the dumbest. I just hang on. You mean there's a good chance you could just absolutely defecate your colon out of your anal canal when you take this stuff, or you go on a trip so scary you might run through the woods naked. Just talk to a therapist.
Well, there's got to be some sort of spiritual aspect that they believe it does.
Yeah, they think it's unlocking something that otherwise wouldn't be unlocked.
But you grew up in a very religious sort of setting.
And that's why I recoil at it.
Right. There's different things that I'm sure you saw people do. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, I'm sure your family wasn't into like snake handling or nothing, but that does happen in some groups.
100% it happens.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, so a photographer actually died in Spain in 2020 after smoking this poison. I think he smoked too much of it, though.
You smoke too much, Pip.
Last note, the National Park Service has officially had to warn visitors not to lick toads. So,
is there a sign?
Just so you know, it's on their website, I think.
Well, add that to the Facebook page.
So yeah, don't.
Should I like the Facebook page and start spamming national park warnings?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So.
I know what I'm doing the rest of tonight.
So another poisonous amphibian that I want to talk about briefly is the fire salamander, which sounds cool.
Sounds like a Pokemon.
Yeah, it does. Usually black with yellow.
Charmander.
Oh my God. It's usually black with yellow spots or stripes, found in most of southern and central Europe. It secretes something called salamandrin, which can cause strong muscle contractions, hypertension, and hyperventilation. They also secrete another toxic alkaloid called samandarone. Samandarone.
Okay.
From their parotid glands. Mainly toxic to mammals, birds, fish, and other amphibians. Humans may experience local skin irritation with contact, and serious effects are usually only a problem if ingested. So don't be eating salamanders either. There's also another, I think there's like a newt that, like, if it gets squeezed, like it's being bitten, like its rib cage like pokes through and in like it has like this sort of poison or venom that it can. Anyway, look that up because it's
crazy.
Pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
I didn't know whether to label that as poison or venom because it sounded like a little bit of both. But anyway.
Wow.
Now, I want to talk about a bird because, yes, birds can be poisonous.
Okay.
The hooded pitahui bird. It's funny, I know.
Sounds like what Kung Fu Panda says just before he starts the first fight in his daydream. Pitahui! First he swallowed, then he spoke.
So
Pitahui!
This is also the scientific name for this one is Pitahui dicris because it's two-colored. There's two colors to this bird. It has like a black and a reddish brown coloring.
Okay.
It's an average-sized bird, about 8 to 9 inches long. It's found in New Guinea. And it was reported in 1992 that this bird and other pitahuis contain homobatrachotoxin. That's a mouthful.
Wow.
It is a derivative of batrachotoxin, and it carries it in its tissues. This is a neurotoxin. 2 years earlier, scientists were prepping hooded pitahui skins from museums, because that's what scientists do, I guess, sometimes, when they started experiencing numbness and tingling and burning in their hands. I guess they weren't using gloves. Which
that can't be the move.
No, I don't like touching anything like that without gloves.
You do not.
I need my gloves.
Yes.
So,
when you run out of your gloves, it is quite distressing.
Now, bioassays were carried out and discovered that the skin and feathers were the most toxic, but some organs like the liver and heart, as well as muscle tissue, were also poisonous. Now,
that's crazy.
The toxicity of the hooded pitahui has actually been known for a long time by the locals of New Guinea and was recorded back in the late 1800s. But since it's not usually a trait in birds to be poisonous, it's gone pretty much unstudied. So, yeah. Ornithology. The birds, like the dart frogs we already talked about, are thought to get this toxicity from their diet, since the toxicity varies among them and is found within the organs. So it's not like they're producing it, like they're accumulating it. Like dart frogs, these birds sometimes feast on beetles in the Maliridae family.
Nailed it.
It is believed the birds absorb this poison to use it as a deterrent against predators and parasites, which is actually pretty smart. Another poisonous bird is the blue-capped ifrit. And I just like saying that because it makes me think of that creature from like Final Fantasy. Ifrit. Okay.
Oh, is that really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. We are going to talk about a bug now.
Okay.
We're going to talk about blister beetles, or, well, specifically Spanish fly. It's not a fly. It's a beetle.
Okay.
Okay. They just call it Spanish fly. I don't know why. They rhymed. Lyta vesicatoria. There's like a global distribution of various species of blister beetles. So right now we're just talking about Spanish fly.
Okay.
Now this one's found in Europe and parts of Asia to Siberia. Smooth metallic appearance from like an orange to a green. And they produce something called cantharidin, as do other beetles in its family, which is a nasty blistering agent. They do this to protect themselves and their eggs from predators. Cantharidin comes from cantharis, which is Greek for beetle.
Oh, okay.
So that's fun.
Clever.
Cantharidin. However, it became a sort of legend that cantharides are aphrodisiacs. I don't know who's obsessed with these, like trying
How
foreign
do you
materials.
find that out?
Oh, well, look, we're gonna get into a story in just a minute, okay?
Okay. I am so interested.
Its use dates back to the Greeks and the Shang dynasty to the east. In fact, it is a poison that causes inflammation and blistering all the way down if ingested. If skin makes contact with cantharidin, it will blister as well. So why was it labeled an aphrodisiac? Well, I'm going to tell you.
Please do.
It also causes priapism. Do you know what that is?
No.
It is the unwanted, persistent erection.
Okay.
Kind of like it says if you have an erection
Longer than 4 hours.
you should call, priapism.
Call your doctor.
It's not.
Who's not going to answer.
It is not something you want because.
That does not sound like something I would want.
It's actually quite painful. So people thought since it looks like an erection, it's an aphrodisiac. So it looks like,
No, dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
This must be what that is. In reality, it is very painful. Cantharides also cause vomiting with blood because it's blistering all the way down.
Oh.
Thirst, inflammation of the stomach and kidneys, and considerable bloody discharge from the urethra and other orifices.
Oh, gosh.
It's also a danger for horses as the beetles can get like into alfalfa, even when they're like, if you have the beetles and they're like cut up, like they are disintegrated, they're powder, it's still dangerous.
Wow.
It will still do this. So we're going to talk about the Marquis de Sade. It's probably Sade. It's France. He was around between 1740 and 1814. Born to a noble family and served in the 7 Years' War as an officer.
You said 1840? 1740 to 1814?
14. Mm-hmm.
That's 74 years.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a long time to live back then.
Yeah, he was also a jackass.
Okay.
Well, we're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about him. He was entangled in quite a few scandals, including participating in orgies, but also sexual assault.
Oh, dear.
All with the consent of his wife, by the way.
Yeah, sure.
Well, no, she was like, fine, I don't care.
Yikes.
She didn't care. He offered some prostitutes that he had hired for said orgies some candy that was laced with cantharidin. They had no idea what they were eating. And at least 2 of the women became violently ill. After they complained to police, he would later be sentenced to death for sodomy and poisoning. But he escaped, and they instead burned they burned a model of him, his effigy, basically.
Oh.
It was another person with him involved in this. But yeah. So they just burned a model of him because they were like, yeah, screw you. He would later be imprisoned, escape, commit more terrible crimes, be imprisoned again and again, where he would write violent erotic novels, then declared insane and put into an asylum. Mm-hmm. So there's that. Like, it's a fascinating story. The guy's fascinating in the worst sort of way, but like there's a lot of history with him. I didn't want to go into too much detail with it because it's pretty awful.
Sure. We got the highlights.
Yeah.
We're good.
Fun fact, the word sadism or sadist or sadistic comes from his last name.
Oh, my gosh.
Sexual
Wow.
sadism disorder is also named after him. He was bad.
SSD?
He was naughty.
Solid state drive?
So in a bit more recent, not too recent, but recent case, 1954, there was an office manager in London named Arthur Ford who had a thing for a coworker named Betty Grant, even though he was already married with kids himself. Mm-hmm. They actually worked for a chemical manufacturer in London. I already said London, but yeah, chemical manufacturer. That's what you need to know. Arthur had apparently heard about Spanish flies' aphrodisiac rumors. And since they didn't have Google back then, so he couldn't very well, I guess, do too much research.
This is awful. What year is this again?
1954.
Oh, God.
But he found out that it is also called cantharidin and that the company they worked for actually kept some in stock, likely because it's used in very small amounts topically for some skin ailments, like very small amounts, like where it's a blistering agent so it can help remove certain things.
Oh, okay, yeah.
A pharmacist with the company actually warned him that it was dangerous when he asked about it one day. Who just randomly asks about that? Hey, what's this cantharidin stuff? Hey. Still, he came back later and swiped some. 39 grains, actually, enough to kill over 200 people.
Okay.
Yeah. The next day, I guess they didn't have very good security at this time in this place. The next day, he brought some chocolates and pressed in some powdered cantharidin into them. He gave one to Betty Grant, one to a Miss Scammell, and another to a Miss Glover. Another woman, Miss Mullins, took one too, and Arthur himself had one.
Oh, dear.
Miss Mullins and Betty Grant became sick sometime later, and so did Arthur. I guess they had like more in theirs,
Okay.
I'm guessing. They ended up being hospitalized, the three of them. And the two women would actually die soon after. Yeah, they died soon after. After an autopsy of the two women showed 1 to 2 grains each of cantharidin, which is 10 times the lethal dose, mind you, Arthur confessed and was apparently upset because he never intended to kill anyone. He pled guilty to manslaughter. How much time do you think he got?
$20 minutes.
He got 5 years.
Oh, wow.
That's it. He killed 2 women with poison, and he got away with 5 years. Manslaughter.
Amazing.
Yeah. All right, moving on to Tetrodotoxin. This is a neurotoxin. Might have heard of it before with the pufferfish.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I think there's some like octopus and cuttlefish, certain angelfish, moon snails, mud snails, some starfish species, worms, toads, newts. It's in quite a few things. Mm-hmm. It's also produced by bacteria such as Pseudomonas and Vibrio.
Pseudomonas. Mm-hmm. I see that a lot on history and physical reports or hospital discharge summaries.
It's one of those things you have to kind of gown up to go in the room with sometimes. Pseudomonas.
Right.
So they keep it
it's
in
a
history.
bacterial infection.
Yeah.
Wow.
Also, Vibrio is a nasty flesh-eating infection, I believe. Don't eat raw oysters. It's just not worth it. If you're going to, make sure you get them from a reputable location.
My dad literally just did that.
And got sick?
Yep. Mm-hmm. He was on the South Carolina coast.
It can be very dangerous.
And he loves raw oysters. Loves them.
I like them fried, personally.
Yeah. He likes them raw. And he spent 36, 48 hours super ill.
Yeah. It'll do it to you. Now, the pufferfish are believed to be the second most poisonous vertebrates in the world. That's behind the golden poison frog that we talked about earlier.
It's number 1. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Little bitty guy packs a really big punch.
Okay.
Now, tetrodotoxin is mainly found in the liver and sex organs and seems to actually be produced by endosymbiotic bacteria that are passed down the food chain.
Okay.
So, just letting you know where it's come from. Also, ocean sunfish have this. Mola mola. That's their name, mola mola. I took ichthyology in college, and I still remember that.
Did.
I still remember the scientific name.
Y'all, listen.
It was a great class.
Let's throw an anchor out right here real quick. When my wife says she took ichthyology, she didn't take ichthyology. She crushed ichthyology.
I loved it. It was great.
She loved it.
Dr. Saul.
The professor
amazing.
Literally told her, you could have been a doctor.
Yeah, I don't want to be a doctor, though.
No, she didn't want to do that. But she loved that class.
Doctors are amazing. I just couldn't do it.
Oh, yeah. And it involved going, studying on site near Savannah, off the coast of Savannah.
St. Catherine's Island.
St. Catherine's Island.
It's an island for research only.
Yeah. Going to the wildlife preserve there and just studying, getting to actually step in the ocean with nets and grabbing fish to actually...
Right next to gators at some point, too.
Oh, my God. Also, you told me that what was out there in that water. I was like, Rebecca.
We got sharks, stingrays. Also, there's lemurs out there, too.
Hard pass. Yeah, the place is covered with lemurs. They love that place.
Anyway, it's great.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to tetrodotoxin. Yeah. So similar to the bufotoxins of dart frogs. Tetrodotoxin are sodium channel blockers. They basically prevent the nervous system from carrying messages and muscles from contracting, often leading to paralysis and respiratory failure because of that. Now, the toxicity... Oh, Lord. The toxicity...
of our cities.
Oh, God. I need to do warm-ups before we do this.
Okay.
I just don't talk this much. I don't usually talk this much. Toxicity does vary between species and at different seasons and places. It can enter through the body via ingestion, injection, inhalation, or through open wounds. Don't go swimming in the ocean with open wounds. It's not worth it. Don't do that.
The salt does not clean your open wound.
There are so many bacteria in the ocean.
There are just as many bacteria in salt water as there are in fresh.
Also, don't jump into warm freshwater lakes. They're not freshwater.
Oof.
You really want a brain-eating amoeba? No. Okay. I'm off my soapbox. I know. I have a lot of anxiety. I'm sorry. I know it's rare, but I don't want to be the one, okay?
Oh, God.
Okay. Symptoms of poisoning occur between 30 minutes to 4 hours. If it is a fatal dose, the symptoms appear sooner. I am sorry. They include tingling and numbness in the mouth, followed by the extremities, hypersalivation, sweating, headache, weakness, lethargy, incoordination, tremor, paralysis, cyanosis, which is like the bluing of skin because of lack of oxygen, inability to speak, difficulty swallowing, seizures, GI stuff like abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. Respiratory distress continues to increase along with a drop in the blood pressure. Not a good combo. Paralysis also increases along with convulsions, mental impairment, and irregular heart rate. None of this is fun. Some may be fully conscious and aware of what's happening to them before death, while others enter into a coma. It's more merciful that way, I would think. Now, treatment involves early airway management, obviously. If the toxin was eaten, the stomach is pumped and the victim is given activated charcoal usually. If the victim survives the initial 24 hours, they will usually recover. If you can just get past that first 24 hours, you'll be great.
Wow.
Now, tetrodotoxin poisoning has almost always been a result of eating pufferfish from the Indo-Pacific regions. This is apparently because it's where it's mostly eaten.
People eat those.
Yeah, but but it's usually prepared by chefs who know how to prepare it properly so that it's not.
Is it good enough to justify the risk?
It is apparently a delicacy in Japan.
Okay.
So, according to the Tokyo Bureau of Social Welfare and Public Health, 20 to 44 incidents of fugu, that's what they call the delicacy there, poisoning occurred per year between 1996 and 2006. This led to 34 to 64 hospitalizations per year. This is each year. And 0 to 6 deaths per year. Only one of these incidents took place in a restaurant, though, where specially trained chefs are hired to prepare it. Like, you have to be licensed to be able to do this. It's a specific thing. Okay?
Yeah, it sounds so stupid.
I know, but it is what it is. The others were from fishermen eating the fish they caught. Now, between 2006 and 2009 in Japan, there were 119 incidents involving 153 people, but only 7 died.
Right.
Only a few cases have been reported in the U.S., but it isn't a delicacy here like it is there. So,
okay.
Historically, pufferfish eggs were mentioned in ancient Chinese Book of Herbs to treat convulsive diseases. It was also used for suicide in some places. So,
well, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and the first recorded tetrodotoxin poisoning amongst Westerners was found in Captain Cook's logs.
No way, James Cook.
In 1774, apparently his crew ate some pufferfish before feeding the remains to pigs. The crew experienced mild symptoms, like they were pretty sick, but the pigs, who likely ate the more poisonous organs, were found dead the next morning. Sucks.
Wow.
Sucks for the pigs. In 1909, Japanese scientist Dr. Yoshizumi Tahara isolated Tetrodotoxin, and it became one of the toxins used on people in Japan's Unit 731 in the 30s. Remember we talked a little bit about that when we talked about chemical warfare?
Yes.
Yeah. Pretty awful stuff.
Wow.
Surprisingly, it has since been looked at as a possible treatment for pain in cancer patients and possibly for migraines. It has also been shown to be useful for heroin withdrawal. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So,
okay.
I mean, like if it's, I guess whatever they do with it to make it less toxic.
Sure. I'm sure it goes through a process.
So another similar poison is saxitoxin, and it is produced by Alexandrium fundiens. I hope I said that right. Which is usually the cause of red tides along the northeast Atlantic coast. Now, ingesting shellfish, which accumulate this toxin, can cause paralytic shellfish poisoning, or PSP, not the gaming system.
Paralytic shellfish poisoning.
Which,
it has a term.
And I mentioned this one after tetrodotoxin because it actually causes many of the same symptoms of tetrodotoxin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it sometimes gets, I don't know how, I'm not sure how often it happens to where it gets confused with one or the other, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah, at least here. Mm-hmm. Now, real quick, there's still many poisonous critters out there. One that we didn't discuss much of was, we didn't discuss any of it until now. The monarch butterfly is actually poisonous. It accumulates cardinalides, cardiac glycosides from the plants it feeds on.
What?
So think about it. If it goes and feeds on, say, digitalis.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Oh,
something
wow.
Something that eats that butterfly could potentially be poisoned.
Like your dog.
Well, yeah. I don't know that too many dogs eat. Do dogs eat butterflies?
I mean, they'll be goofy enough to try.
I mean, I have seen dogs try to bite at bees and get stung. But yeah. It really depends on what they're eating or what they're
wow.
Yeah, what they're taking from. Also, this was a surprise, honestly, to me. Well, not really, because we'll get to that. Also, the Greenland shark, which has the greatest lifespan, also, among vertebrates at 500 plus years.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, they can live a long, long time.
500 years.
They have a toxin called trimethylamine oxide. I didn't do too bad.
No, you nailed it. That's exactly how you say that.
TMAO. TMAO. Sorry. It is a neurotoxin that they carry in their tissues.
Tamau. I'm not going to forget that.
Which helps them against the...
Tamau merch available now. Link in bio.
Now, this actually helps them against the effects of extreme cold and high water pressure because they live up there near Iceland, and they live up there in the cold. Mm-hmm. And they like to be deep.
Okay.
Yeah. So symptoms of toxicity are similar to severe inebriation. And the thing I was going to get to in a minute, I have a cousin who went to Iceland after graduating.
Which one?
Sarah.
Did she really?
Yeah, remember?
I forgot about that.
Yeah, they went to...
She and her dad went, right?
Well,
they went to Spain.
Went to Spain. I think this trip was more of a studies abroad, I think. Something like that. I know she went to Iceland. I know she went to Iceland.
That's cool.
And she told me, I'm pretty sure that she had some of this. So, but...
Well, I'll always love Iceland and Greenland because of the movie The Secret Life of Sir Walter Mitty, the new one that Ben Stiller starred.
Didn't he just go to Iceland?
Was it Iceland?
Greenland
he went to Greenland.
No, he went to Iceland.
But he also went to Greenland, right? He went to both.
Greenland is the super icy one.
Yeah, I know. He was in Iceland, too.
No, he went to Iceland. I don't remember him going to Greenland.
No, because the huge guy he met in the bar said there's 8 people in Greenland.
Iceland. They were in Iceland when he said that.
You're so angry about this. Was he really?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, that part of the world, all of a sudden I realized how gorgeous it is because of that movie.
Okay. Well, in
Stop
Iceland,
being so angry at me.
In Iceland, well, get your facts straight.
Okay.
In Iceland, the shark meat is prepared.
You yelled at me and everything.
You'll be all right. The shark meat is prepared by hanging it up for 4 to 5 months, which is like a fermentation process that eliminates this toxin. So they can they hang it up for that long and then they can eat it. But it's like, I wonder what it tastes like. They call it getting they call it getting shark drunk if you get inebriated with it.
Shark drunk.
Yeah.
Man.
So, but yeah, that's what I've got. That's my poisonous. There are still, I didn't go through all the poisonous critters. There's still many, many poisonous critters out there. So if you go out and you're like, hey, there's a critter she didn't mention, I'm going to put that in my mouth. Don't do that.
Put that in my mouth.
Don't do that.
That's amazing.
Don't put any critters in your mouth.
Yeah. How about, can you just not?
Don't do that. Because ew.
Awesome.
I mean, I'm not saying I eat meat.
Right. Yeah.
But cooked.
Sure.
Meat.
Conventional cuisine.
I can't do the killing myself because I love animals. But
so thank you guys for listening. Be sure to follow the podcast Instagram account, poisoners_almanac. Becca is running that account herself. She gets into granular, deep cut stuff with all the research she does for our episodes here. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.
Don't eat poison.
Hi, everyone. Just a quick addendum to today's episode. Becca looked up whether or not Walter Mitty went to Greenland or Iceland.
You were right. I was wrong. He went to Greenland too. It's been a long time since I've seen the movie.
Right. I wasn't sure either. But
he went to Greenland. I was so wrong. I was very wrong. I like to admit when I'm wrong.
Becca pestered me until I turned the recording back on and said, no, I can't be sharing false information out there.
He went to Greenland too.
He went to Greenland and Iceland, both in the same movie.
He also went to the Himalayas.
Okay.
So
there you go.
It's a good movie.
That's right. Go watch it.
Sounds like I need to rewatch it.